Xbox Game Pass gives us a massive slate of game here for the announcement in September. Grand Theft Auto 6 could be getting delayed again. Battlefield 6, we have lots of information about that. That game is coming out soon, and the Battle Royale game as well gets a release date. So we have those things to talk about, plus many other news items to go over. But before we do get into it, if you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, hit the subscribe, share, like, all of that stuff. But for now, let's get into it. We got the next announcement here for Xbox Game Pass. They gave us a large slate of games for this announcement. Some good ones, some ones that I've never heard of, but overall there is a ton to play here on top of everything else that is currently on Game Pass and everything else that is releasing in September and going into October. The games are nonstop. This is one of the craziest years when it comes to game releases, and Game Pass is no different. It's been a phenomenal year for the subscription service. But let's take a look at what we are getting access to here with this next announcement here for Xbox Game Pass. I think the major highlights here for me are Hades dropping into the service, and then Visions of Mana, which is a game that I've been wanting to play for a while. So it's cool to see it dropping here into Xbox Game Pass. But here are the dates that they're coming out and some more information. Black Ops 7, they also announced this in this release here, that you get the early access of the open beta starting on October 2nd. So if you're in Game Pass Ultimate, you are getting October 2nd access to the beta to try out the game and just see what this new Call of Duty is all about. But we have Roadcraft, which is available today on Game Pass Ultimate and Game Pass Standard, where you're rebuilding different things, operating a fleet of over 40 authentic construction vehicles. That's available right now. Coming soon, Modern Warfare 3 to console on September 17th to Game Pass Standard. For the King 2 on September 17th as well to Game Pass Standard. Overthrown, which is a game preview, going to Game Pass Standard on September 17th. Then we have these games here that are going into Ultimates. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, September 17th. Frostpunk 2 on September 18th. Wobbly Life on September 18th as well. That's going actually to all the tiers, Ultimate, PC, and Game Pass Standard. Don't really know too much about this one, but they say vibrant open world physics sandbox. You play with your friends online or in local co-op with exciting jobs, mini games, and wacky story missions. Then we have Hades here, which is everyone's loved this game when it did drop. The second one is actually coming out, I believe, this month. So if you want to prepare for that, you could jump in here and play the first one, and that is coming to cloud, console, PC, Ultimate, and Standard on September 19th. You have Endless Legend 2 on September 22nd. This is also a game preview. This is a day one game as well. And again, don't know too much for this one, but they say lead your people to victory on an ever-evolving world in this strategy game featuring asymmetric factions led by powerful heroes. Then we have Sworn here on September 23rd to Game Pass Ultimate and PC. It's a co-op action rogue-like game for all the Peppa Pig fans out there. Peppa Pig World Adventure is coming on September 25th to Ultimate, PC, and Standard. And then Visions of Mana. I love the Mana games. When Sword of Mana dropped in there, I was pretty excited. Trials of Mana, all these Mana games, that they're fun for me. Now, Visions of Mana is one that I haven't gotten to yet. Now I'll be able to get to it playing it via Xbox Game Pass, September 25th, coming to Ultimate, PC, and Standard. Got Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light on September 30th, as well coming to Ultimate, PC, and Game Pass Standard. And then another day one game here, SOPA, The Tale of the Stolen Potato, going to Ultimate and PC. It is a narrative adventure, they say here, where you explore a world of magical realism inspired by Latin America. So a ton of games here with the Game Pass announcement for the second one here for September 16th, where they did announce it. They also do mention that there are more games going over to Game Pass Core: Warhammer 40,000 Darktide, Disney Dream Light Valley, and Cities Skyline. So if you are a Game Pass fan, you have lots to play on top of everything else that's coming out. For me, Hades, Visions of Mana, both games that I do want to check out. And then those smaller indie games, I always kind of like giving them a go to see if one of them does stick, because there are a lot of indie games out there and they're very creative, and there's always something that you just never expected to enjoy when you do load it up. And that generally for me comes from the Game Pass games that do drop in there, where I get to experience a bunch of titles that I really have never heard of, but are fun to play. All right, let's talk about the initiative and Perfect Dark, the remake or the rebirth of it that we know got canceled. And the initiative, it was the only game that they were working on. That studio is going away. And then you had Darrell Gallagher, who was at the head of that studio, who had lots of experience in other places, specifically with Crystal Dynamics. That's probably one of the main reasons why the initiative and Crystal Dynamics were working together to make this game. Well, he is done now. He is packing his bags. He's leaving. It's over. The initiative, the game, everything regards to that game is now basically officially over here. As it says here, a couple of hours ago, Initiative Studio head Darrell Gallagher announced on LinkedIn that he's leaving Xbox, expressed his pride in the work done by the development team on Perfect Dark despite its final cancellation, saying, "After an incredible journey, my time at Xbox has come to a close with the wind down of Perfect Dark and the Initiative. I couldn't be prouder of the talented and passionate team I had the privilege assemble and lead. Together, we set out to reimagine iconic franchise and poured creativity, craft, and a dedication into every step of the way. The public reception and excitement for what we were building has been inspiring and deeply appreciated by all of us." And then he goes on to talk about how this chapter is ending sooner than he had hoped, and he's grateful for Xbox for the opportunity and to the partners for their supports and the community for their belief in what they were creating. So he's leaving here. He was the head of the initiative. He previously worked at Sony, Rockstar, THQ, and Crystal Dynamics, where he began as the director of art and then was promoted to the studio head, leading the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, which is why I was very hopeful when it came to the Perfect Dark remake, because I really enjoyed the reboot of the Tomb Raider trilogy, and seeing that he was the guy there when that all was going down, you'd think he'd be able to transfer a lot of that over to making Perfect Dark, and we would have gotten a great experience. Now, I think Perfect Dark looked good when they did show it off, and it probably would have been a decently fun game, but the issue, it does seem like when it all comes down to it, is that they just weren't meeting their deadlines or guidelines or producing enough in the period of time that they were given to create this game. Because reality is, Perfect Dark probably should have been far closer to release than what we were hearing it was. We were hearing that there was still another 2 years of development that this game needed, and Xbox was like, "We're not sinking any more money into this. There's nothing that's been produced from the initiative, so cut their losses now before continuing to put more money into a game that you're not guaranteed that it's going to make back all of the money it costs to develop," especially because Perfect Dark, although it is a relatively popular franchise for people who played it back in the day, it's not a mainstream one that everyone knows about, that people who have never played it when it first came out would really care about. So there was a chance here that this game probably would have underperformed in terms of sales and people playing it on Game Pass and stuff. So that's probably why all of this did happen. Now Darrell Gallagher is gone. The initiative is closed down. And we can just kind of hope that one day, I guess, this game does get picked up again, because we did hear about that deal about Take-Two potentially paying to get the game and keep developing it. But that deal fell through as well, which is just an unfortunate event here if you are a fan of Perfect Dark. All right, Battlefield 6 is coming out in October. Game looks great if you've played the beta. A lot of people did love it, but a couple of big pieces here of information about what you can expect via crossplay, as well as the Battle Royale game that is actually going to be free to play. This one is coming out very, very soon as well. So we'll start off with that one. The Battle Royale for Battlefield 6 is launching in October, on October 28th, which I believe is about a week or two after the game does release, the main game for Battlefield 6. They say here, this is according to Modern Warzone, saying the sources that Battlefield 6 Battle Royale is currently planned to launch on October 28th, 18 days after the launch of the game. But the data is subject to change as always, especially with the BR currently in testing in Battlefield Labs. They say here, but I've heard it is the current plan for the launch. So Battlefield 6 scheduled to launch on October 10th. Now, what's interesting is it's very smart if they are going to wait a couple of weeks here to launch the Battle Royale, even if it's ready, because their major competitor this year is going to be Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which just launches about a month later on November 14th. So there's going to be less of a gap between the launch of Battlefield 6, where in a month people may get bored of it if they're not a huge fan of the game, may get turned off, want to try something new and jump over. But if they're releasing the Battle Royale so close to Call of Duty, by the time Call of Duty comes out, it just, the marketing of it is going to overlap, and people may not jump over as fast as I think they will. between the time that Battlefield launches and then Call of Duty launches. I still think Call of Duty will outsell Battlefield 6 and be the best-selling game, but there's definitely competition this year here with Battlefield 6, especially after we saw with the numbers that were showing up here with the concurrent players when the beta did launch. This is going to be a big year here for the first-person shooter genre, and we're back into that head-to-head here between Battlefield and Call of Duty. The other thing we did get some information about here is the crossplay. Something interesting. Xbox and PlayStation players together, even with crossplay switched off. So you're playing with your fellow console counterparts here, whether you like it or not. Crossplay on, they say if you're a console player, we are looking for other console players in a set time frame. And then if we need to fill up the lobby more, we will look towards PC players. And I'm guessing they will also be looking at the input, because controller going against mouse and keyboard just is not a very fair battle, especially if you're playing somebody who's seasoned in using mouse and keyboard. But with crossplay off, the console only crossplay happens if you turn it off. When you flip that switch, then you get basically console only crossplay. And that is, we don't fill with PC players. So Xbox and PS5 players are going to be playing together regardless of crossplay being on or it being off. And that's fine. I mean, I don't think that really does matter whatsoever, because it's still, you're having a fair game when you're having two console inputs. The hardware itself, whether it's a PlayStation logo or an Xbox logo, does not matter. So Xbox, PlayStation together, and potentially if they can't get enough players, which I don't think that will be an issue, then they'll bring in the PC players. All right, let's talk about this one, because I very excited for this, as this is one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, as it is for a lot of people. And that's Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And we got some more information. They are really building this thing from the ground up. There are going to be big changes to it. And I actually am excited and happy about the changes they are potentially making for this game. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, they say, will be more RPG heavy. Now, again, this is just a rumor, but this is a video from Jeux Video Magazine, they say, which has gotten some Assassin's Creed news right in the past and posted about the remake. And the leaker did reveal that several details regarding the title, like its gameplay and story. For example, the story will cut the modern day parts and add more to the protagonist Edward Kenway's pirating, which I'm completely okay with, like adding more into the world that you enjoy playing in. That's cool. Most interestingly, it does say, it mentions that the gameplay will be more RPG based, similar to Origins and Shadows, which I'm a fan of the RPG based Assassin's Creed games. I like the original ones. I've played them, but I really do like the RPG ones. I like getting new weapons, getting that loot, and upgrading your character. So seeing them bring that here into Assassin's Creed in the way that they have it in those games, I'm okay with that. I'm all for that. If I want to play the original, I'll just pop in my version of the game that I already have on the Xbox 360 and play that. They say, furthermore, the release is slated for early 2026. So not that far away, to be completely honest. And that is some big changes. I feel like this will split people. There are going to be people out there that are just wanting the game to be the exact same, nothing changed, new graphics and stuff. But I'm actually very okay with them making these changes here for Black Flag, especially if it does end up being better and we get more content in Edward Kenway's story. They also mention its importance that none of this is confirmed. So of course, take it with a grain of salt, but this will be a huge game. I think this one will do very, very well for Ubisoft, as all of their Assassin's Creed games do, but there will be a lot of hype when this does officially get shown off and announced and everything. And then we do get the release date for it. I wonder when that will be, if it is coming out in early 2026. Could there be a huge surprise here coming up at the Game Awards where we finally see this remake of Assassin's Creed Black Flag? Grand Theft Auto 6 is supposed to be coming out in May of 2026, but there's still a lot of people who are skeptical. Take-Two, Rockstar, they've done this plenty of times. They've delayed games more than once. And Insider Gaming and Tom Henderson are saying here that the delay could happen again and push it all the way to October 2026, which is kind of funny because it would already throw off tons of games that are releasing their schedules, as they don't, or still will not want to release near Grand Theft Auto 6. But this here comes via Insider Gaming on their podcast, and it says insider Tom Henderson is hearing rumblings suggesting that GTA 6 won't release in May of 2026. He does believe it will be delayed again until October of 2026, and also believes the delay will be announced around the next earning calls this December. And that does make sense. If they're going to announce something like this, it will be during the earnings call because they'll want it to get their investors ready for it not coming out in March, where you're expecting, if you're an investor, that's where there's going to be a big boom because GTA 6 is going to sell an insane amount of copies. But obviously we don't know yet. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they pushed this to October 2026, just to give them the entire year basically to continue to polish it and make sure that it comes out in the best way possible. Regardless, the game is going to be one of the biggest media releases, entertainment releases of all time, if not the biggest. A state of play could be happening. We have some info here that there is another one scheduled for next week, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this is finally the one where they show off a bunch of their first party titles. I think this will be based off of rumors that we have been hearing. But they say another source has stated that PlayStation has a state of play planned for next week. And earlier this month, Insider Gaming exclusively reported that PlayStation has a state of play event scheduled for the end of September, where Marvel's Wolverine is almost certainly going to be a part of the event. We're hearing things here. So Nate the Hate is the other person who did say this. Someone asked Nate the Hate 2, will there be a Sony show, state of play or showcase? This is next week. What do you think? He says next week. And I think this will be big in the sense that we'll finally see Wolverine. We may see some Phantom Blade Zero. We may also see Marathon as well show up at that showcase, but I would also really love to see the Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet game that they are working on that we've only seen that one trailer from. If that shows up there as well, that would be a nice state of play. Something that Sony hasn't given us in a very long time, where they've given us a showcase where it's focused on their first party games that they are working on so that people can see, hey, there's actually more than just one game coming out every single year that you're going to be able to play. And then we can finally get a look at the future into 2026. I thought 2025 was going to be a bigger year for PlayStation with the releases, and now it's looking like 2026 will be. They have a state of play showing off games, and that kind of confirms that next year will give us some more first-party PlayStation games. Finally, Borderlands 4, it's a very fun game. I've been streaming it over the last few days, so I've been really enjoying it. Gameplay's great. The story's good. It is a good, very good, I would say, Borderlands game. There are performance issues, however, mainly on PC. And that always hinders a game. Even if it is a good game, that always brings it down when it does launch. But what hurts it even more is when you have a guy at the head of the studio making the game always talking on social media and making things worse for the developers who are just trying right now to fix the performance issues and get the game up to par. Randy Pitchford has been going off, and I think at this point he needs to just uninstall social media or stop talking, because he is absolutely making it worse here for Borderlands 4 and for the studio developing the game. First of all, he says, because people are talking about the issues with it, he says, get a refund from Steam if you aren't happy with Borderlands 4. I don't know why these executives think that this ever helps. People will start getting refunds and they're going to lose a lot of the sales that they have on the game itself. He was asking players to get the refund here, spotted by Games Radar, saying that he mentioned getting a refund on Steam for Borderlands 4 during a recent reply on X, saying the Borderlands 4 boss has been vocal on social media platforms recently addressing the issues the game is facing in a recent post, saying every PC gamer must accept the reality of the relationship between their hardware and what the software they are running is doing. And then a player did respond to the comment, adding that it's not even running at a 30 FPS minimum. And then Pitchford responds saying, absolutely, play at 30 FPS and recommended playing at a 60 FPS. Players will have good systems and good tuning. Then offered help with the tuning if the player required it. And then says that you should play a different game if you don't want to use the DLSS or other frame generation tools that will make the game run better. And also goes on here to say, I mean, he's talking a lot. He's saying a lot of things here, but we click into here. You can do whatever you want. The game is the game. Please get a refund from Steam if you aren't happy with it. You made an analogy to a vehicle. I would not put a Ferrari engine in a monster truck and expect you to drive like a Ferrari. If you tell me about your specification, I can help you optimize your performance. I'm sorry you don't like being told to use DLSS, but that is the way. If you're not happy using the tools available to you improve your frame rate, and you're not happy with the frame rate you should play a different game. So basically telling people to not play the game. It says that the game is awesome and it is designed to be just fine of an experience at 30 FPS and feel great at 60 FPS. He says, we also provided a lot of options for you to make different trade-offs between frame rate, resolution, and graphics features than we would make. And we encourage you to use those tools to optimize your taste. Would you like help tuning your experience better to your liking? So he is responding here. At least he's offering to help the person rather than just completely dismiss them, but telling them to return the game. They'll probably just go ahead and return the game. He's also talking so much here that you have Larian, who's telling Randy to be put in a cupboard for 6 months, as he's just basically making it harder on the developers to do their job, as well as the fact that the more he talks, the more controversy, the more outrage there will be towards the game, when I think it is a good game. And finally, he does tell people to just go code their own engine after more complaints are coming in, saying, code your own engine and show us how it's done, please. We will be your customer when you pull it off. The people doing it now are clearly dumb and don't know what they're doing. And all the support and recommendations, waiting for this to load up here, and code and architecture from the world's greatest hardware companies and tech companies working with the world's greatest real-time graphics engine coders don't know what you seem to know. And obviously he puts /sarcasm. So that's a sarcastic post. But yeah, Randy Pitchford's going off and he's kind of known for this. It's not that shocking. But I mean, we'll see if this has any great effect on people returning it into the game, not doing well. The sales are probably going to be decent. We've seen the concurrent player numbers. They're good. And as I've said, it's a good game. It's a good Borderlands game. If you're a Borderlands fan and you're playing on PC, I guess wait for the update at this point. But I wouldn't just totally dismiss the game because I think it is a fun game to play. But I'll end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.